By the time the Olympics came around, Torvill and Dean were ice dancing celebrities, famous all over the world.
Well, by then, by '84, they had a huge reputation.
With Jane and Chris, there were 4 years of audience behind them and people watching them, and they became part of people's vocabulary leading up to the Olympics.
But with Britain's expectations running so high and a controversial routine to perform, the pressure was on for them to deliver the goods.
It wasn't a question of will they win, it was a question of how well will they win.
The media were always saying, how many sixes do you think you're going to get? And, you know, to think we've got to get sixes, you're just giving yourself that extra pressure.
The Winter Olympics that year were held in Sarajevo, in former Yugoslavia. The rest of the team were in place well before the Games began. But the stars of the show, Chris and Jane, were allowed to arrive fashionably late.
Torvill and Dean came with the German team on their special train. We went down to the station. I could see this train coming in now from the snow, and somebody said, "They've arrived." And I thought, yes, they've arrived. Now we can start.
The Games opened in spectacular fashion on the 8th of February. A very proud Christopher Dean carried the flag for the British team, and for once, Jane was 6 paces behind.
You don't actually realise that you're at this big event, and maybe that was a good thing for us because it kept us grounded, as it were, and not overwhelmed by it.
After 6 days of competing in the early ice dancing heats, Chris and Jane were holding first position against the Russians and the Americans. Now, the big day arrived, the free dance, the final. Chris and Jane went into their normal pre-competition routine.
It's almost like clockwork, I guess. We know we go to the rink at this time, we get there, start your warm-up. We can hear the applause in the arena, but we're not really in the arena.
Don't listen to the marks.
We don't listen to anybody's marks, fingers in ears. Don't need to hear what other people are getting.
As 50,000 people watched in the arena, Chris and Jane finally took their place on the ice.
It was like, okay, this is it. Help.
You know, we trained ourselves to that point. We were finally tuned athletes.
Back home in England, the streets emptied as 24 million people gathered around their TV sets, held their breath, and waited for Bolero to begin.
I remember being completely transfixed, and it moved me. It was the first time I felt really, really moved by watching ice skaters do anything.
They had this special contact with each other, and Bolero was the one thing that could bring it out. I don't think they realised that Bolero was them.
Bolero means to me probably the greatest moment in ice dancing ever. It was just a total experience. One that I'll never forget.
The thing was such a complete masterpiece. You either had to accept it or say we're just as nice dancing. And nobody was prepared to do that, frankly.
When the march went up, it just blew the roof off.
That night, the international judges gave Torvill and Dean 12 straight sixes, a score which has never been seen before or since in ice dancing.
I remember standing up in my front room and, I mean, screaming. I thought it was absolutely brilliant.
6-0, 6-0, 6-0.
You knew that what was going on in your house, in your living room, was going on everywhere else as well.
6-0, thank you.
It was a wonderful experience. They deserved every minute of it.
It was just amazing. The noise, and it was like, I felt like I was watching someone else, that it wasn't me, you know.
Torvill and Dean returned to Great Britain as heroes. They'd proved to all of us that not only could our tiny country perform, but we could also excel in an international arena.
They wanted us to know that, you know, they were proud of what we'd done.
And that made us realise that they'd taken us to their hearts, I think. I think that's what had happened. We'd conquered the mountain, and it was one of those moments that you'll never forget.
Well, our celebrities have certainly got a hard act to follow, and to celebrate those 25 years since Torvill and Dean's victory at the Olympics, we're winding the clock back to the 1980s for Dancing on Ice tomorrow at 5 to 7.